What is up, guys? It is Coasters and Things here today, and it's time for a video that a lot of you have been looking forward to. If you are a coaster enthusiast, there's a good chance you have the coasters you've ridden ranked from favorite to least favorite. I am no different, and it is time for my top 25 roller coasters that I've ridden 2021 edition. The last time I did this video was over 2 years ago, and since then I've ridden a lot more coasters, and several new credits from last year and this year made it onto this list. In addition, some of the coasters that were on here before have changed in placement, either gone up or down since last time. These aren't necessarily the world's best coasters, these are just my 25 favorites. This list was so hard to arrange because all of these coasters are so good. I've ridden a total of 210 different roller coasters, which is somewhat impressive. It is nowhere near as many as some other enthusiasts, but still decently impressive. Therefore, this list is just 12% of all the roller coasters I have ridden. Before I start, to let you know the 5 coasters that just barely missed the cut, I'm going to be giving quick honorable mentions to my number 30 through number 26 coasters. From 30 to 26, these include Intimidator at Carowinds, Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point, Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast at Six Flags St. Louis, Goliath at Six Flags Great America, and Max Force at Six Flags Great America. I very much enjoy all of these rides, they just so happen to just barely miss the cutoff for my top 25. Now without further ado, let's get into the list. Starting off in the number 25 spot is Phoenix at Knoebels. This classic PTC wooden coaster is famous for having outstanding airtime. This is due to only having buzz bars, no seatbelt. Those hills on the return into the brake run give standing ejector. Just judging by its looks, you would not think this coaster gives as good of airtime as it actually does. It is incredibly smooth and very well maintained. This ride is over 70 years old and it's still kicking butt. Knoebels realizes this is their standout attraction and wants to keep it running as good as can be for years to come. Number 24 is Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City. This is one of the latest coasters to make it into my top 25. This was the first ever Mach Rides Extreme Spinning Coaster. I got 2 rides on this, and I'll admit, after my first ride on this, I was so disoriented that I was speechless. I didn't know if I liked it or not. Then I went back and rode it a second time at night, and I absolutely loved the night ride I got on it. Imagine taking a 90-degree drop from any angle. Well, you can on Time Traveler. You also go upside down 3 times, facing any angle as well. That night ride was so good that it pushed this coaster into my top 25. This ride really changed the game for what spinning coasters can do. Coming in at number 23 is Thunderbird at Holiday World. This is hands down the best B&M wing coaster I have ridden. While the other wing coasters all have rattles to them, Thunderbird is glossy smooth. The launch is great and it causes you to gray out. I love how this coaster is situated back in the woods. While that does make filming it rather difficult, if you go to Holiday World during Hollywood Nights, you get to go on a backstage tour of this coaster and get angles of it you wouldn't normally be able to get. Every single ride I've gotten on this, I have always loved it. Number 22 is Boulder Dash at Lake Compounds. This is the definition of a terrain coaster. It amazes me how this coaster goes up and runs alongside a mountain the whole entire time. One of the best settings you can get on a roller coaster. This was one of the first wooden coasters I rode that blew me away. You're just flying through the woods the whole entire time. There's some good airtime on this ride too. It can run a bit rough sometimes, but the roughness didn't affect me when I rode it. This ride is undoubtedly my favorite coaster by CCI. The number 21 spot goes to Afterburn at Carowinds. I love old school B&Ms, and this one is very intense. It is also butter smooth. It powers through each of its inversions. The Batwing is the notable inversion on this coaster, one of only 2 inverts to feature one. My favorite inversion actually is the last one, the corkscrew. You don't see it coming because it's hidden behind the trees, and then you just whip through it at full speed. Carowinds is so lucky to have this one. Out of the handful that I have ridden, this is without a doubt my favorite B&M invert. Number 20 is Millennium Force at Cedar Point. This was the first ever Giga coaster, and it still delivers a fantastic ride over 20 years after it debuted. The top of Millennium Force's lift hill gives one of the best views of all time. This ride has moments when you're very low to the ground, and moments when you're high off the ground. I know for years enthusiasts have called it Millennium Forceless. I have never thought this ride was forceless. It just doesn't deliver quite as much force as the other Giga coasters I have ridden. That being said, Millennium Force is still a great ride. Number 19 is Texas Stingray at SeaWorld San Antonio. This is the latest GCI wooden coaster to be built in America as of 2021. I rode this a little over a week after it opened to the public, and I thought this was a top GCI. It was so smooth. It also has a straight drop, which I prefer over GCI's typical curved drops. This ride ran so well the day I was at SeaWorld San Antonio. It is so re-rideable. I rode it 5 times that day. As of 2021, this is my favorite coaster at a SeaWorld park. Great Coasters International really did a wonderful job with this ride. Taking the number 18 spot is Copperhead Strike at Carowinds. I'll admit, this is a guilty pleasure ride for me. Most enthusiasts think it's fun, but nothing special. I, on the other hand, love this coaster and could ride it all day. The hang time that you get in the inversions is unparalleled to any other hang time that I've experienced. The JoJo roll is insane. You go so slow through it that you feel like you're going to fall out of the train. The launches aren't that forceful, but I love the layout. This coaster actually has some really good ejector airtime moments, too. In addition, this was also my 100th roller coaster, therefore it holds a special place in my heart. Number 17 is Wicked Cyclone at Six Flags New England. This was my first RMC going on 4 years ago. I was really excited to finally experience an RMC. I rode back row, and while I really liked it, I was honestly expecting more from it, being that it had been hyped up a lot from enthusiasts. While its pacing in the first half was really good, I thought its pacing was a bit lackluster in the second half. Unfortunately, I only got one ride, which isn't very fair when judging this coaster. I imagine if I'd gotten more rides, I would have liked this coaster a lot more. Hopefully sometime in the coming years I'll go back to Six Flags New England and get some more rides on this so I can judge it fairly. Number 16 is Lightning Run at Kentucky Kingdom. This coaster proves that stats don't have to be impressive to be an amazing ride. It's only 100 feet tall and 55 miles per hour, which are very average stats. But this ride is like a pinball machine. It just tosses you back and forth, right and left. It has really powerful airtime that hurts it so strong. The rapid transitions are all over the place on this coaster. It's as smooth as silk as well. It amazes me that this ride was a prototype. Chance Rides took a shot when they built this, and they hit it out of the park. Number 15 belongs to Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia. This is a B&M Hyper known for its abnormal layout. First off, it has that crazy 540-degree helix halfway through the ride in which I gray out almost every time on. There's also those small return hills that really send you out of your seat. This ride has no mid-course brake run, which means it keeps its pacing from start to finish. This is a really strong B&M Hyper. Now this ride is a bit rattly, but I'm able to tolerate it. Therefore, I'm able to really enjoy Goliath. Goliath is currently my second favorite B&M Hyper, and just barely ahead of it in the number 14 spot is my favorite B&M Hyper, Diamondback at Kings Island. Every time I've ridden this, I've had the same opinion, that it's a fantastic hypercoaster. It has phenomenal floater airtime, and I love how it goes far back, almost into the woods. If you sit in the back, you get pulled up over those hills and really come up out of your seat. It also has that famous splashdown at the end, which is a great photo op. It does have a small rattle, but not as bad as Goliath, I feel. Number 13 is Mystic Timbers at Kings Island. After I went back to Kings Island this year, I debated between this and Diamondback, but I stuck with Mystic because this ride has phenomenal pacing. I've ridden it 3 times now, and every time it has hauled through its layout. This coaster also gives ejector airtime, whereas Diamondback gives floater airtime. I personally prefer ejector over floater. It goes all the way back into the woods and over the river rapids ride. At the end of the ride, of course, is the Shed. I think the Shed was overhyped when Kings Island was teasing this coaster. I've gotten bats twice and snakes once. I still have yet to get trees, which apparently is the hardest of the three to get. It used to be my favorite ride in the park until this year. Overall, though, this ride is fantastic and is my favorite GCI. Coming in at number 12 is Wonder Woman Golden Lasso Coaster at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. This was my first RMC Raptor, as well as the first RMC Raptor, and everything I had heard about these were correct. This ride is so fast-paced. Honestly, it should not go as fast as it does. It takes those transitions with so much speed, it's insane. On one of my rides on this, I snapped my neck going into the dive loop. The airtime is incredibly strong. Wonder Woman is stupid intense. This is, in my opinion, the most intense coaster I've ever ridden. The only thing that I didn't like about it were the shoulder strap restraints. They can dig down pretty deep into you if you don't hold onto your restraint. Number 11 is Twisted Cyclone at Six Flags Over Georgia. This RMC may be small, but it packs a huge punch in its layout. Unlike Wicked Cyclone, Twisted Cyclone hauls all the way through. The drop in the back row is actually amazing how much you get whipped over it. It is really short, only about 30 seconds from drop to brakes, but not 1 second on this ride is wasted. My favorite element is the awesome wave turn. You get sideways sustained airtime during it. Also, the 2 airtime hills right after the wave turn give lethal ejector. This ride is so underrated and deserves to be talked about more. We're now entering my top 10. At number 10, we have Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England. This coaster did drop several spots from last time. Like Wicked Cyclone, I only managed to get 1 ride on this, in the front row, and I really wish I could have gotten more rides on this. That front row ride, though, was so good. This has one of the greatest layouts ever for a hypercoaster. I like how the drop dives underground. In the front, you really feel the top speed on this coaster. This ride is very long. It has over a mile of track. While I am not a fan of the U-brick lap bars, they didn't bother me enough to ruin the ride for me. This ride used to be in my top 5, however I decided that what's ahead of it I enjoyed more. Number 9 is Outlaw Run at Silver Dollar City. This is the latest addition to my top 25 as of now, and this ride blew me away. I love the layout, how it's entirely terrain-based. It is a bit rough for an RMC, but not nearly enough to ruin the ride. The drop in the back row is so good because you get some momentum going into it from the pre-drop. That first inversion gives great hang time. Also, the double barrel roll is an amazing finale. This was RMC's first wooden coaster, and they hit a home run with Outlaw Run. This really was a game changer for wooden coasters. Taking the number 8 spot is Orion at Kings Island. I know most enthusiasts would not put this coaster this high. Hear me out, guys. I loved Orion. This was my 200th coaster, and I think I picked a great one. The drop is amazing. It goes on for so long, just like the other B&M Gigas. I love the massive wave turn after the drop. If you're in the far right seat, you actually feel like you come up out of your seat a little on the wave turn. I also really enjoyed the speed hill after the far turnaround. You definitely come up out of your seat on that moment. The helix is pretty forceful, and it's been nicknamed Orion's Belt. It is a little short for a Giga coaster in terms of length, but it's fairly smooth and keeps very nice pacing throughout the ride. Number 7 is Maverick at Cedar Point. This coaster is relentless from start to end. It has so many rapid-fire bank turns. I love how it stays low to the ground, weaving in between rockwork. 95-degree drop from just over 100 feet tall. That is very impressive. It does have ejector airtime, and it has 2 back-to-back inversions, which are awesome. My favorite moment is the Stangle Dive. It is crazy whippy. This coaster's layout is incredibly awesome. The pacing on this ride also is phenomenal. It hauls the mail. This is my favorite Intamin coaster as of now. Number 6 is Storm Chaser at Kentucky Kingdom. This RMC has some of the most powerful airtime on a coaster that I have experienced. The trick track double up literally tries to kill you. Also, the barrel roll down drop gives good hang time. The thing though with this coaster that surprises me every time is how fast it runs. It runs way faster than it feels like it should. I had the best rides I've ever gotten on this thing at Keys to the Kingdom this year. The airtime this coaster delivers is elite. Storm Chaser was way better than I think a lot of people thought it was going to be. RMC did something special with this ride. We're now at my top 5. These were so hard to rank. All 5 of these coasters are just flat out amazing. At number 5, I have Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. I went in thinking this ride was going to be good but not amazing, but when I rode this, I was awestruck at just how amazing it actually is. It has the best first drop I have ever experienced. The fact that it dives down off the side of the quarry wall and twists a little during it really gives it character. I love the step up back onto the quarry wall. This coaster's interaction with the wall really adds a whole other level of uniqueness to it. The section on top of the quarry wall can run a bit slow in the morning, but in the majority of my rides on this, it was hauling. The last dive off the quarry gives amazing ejector. The back row is hands down the row to experience on this coaster. Iron Rattler does something to you when you ride it that proves it's incredible. These last 4 coasters are all elite. They're all a 10 out of 10 ride. Number 4 is Fury 325 at Carowinds. This is my favorite B&M coaster, and I was reminded again this year of just how awesome this ride is. The drop is so freaking huge. It just goes on and on forever. I finally got my first front row rides on it this year, and front row is absolutely the best row. You just feel the wind in your face the whole entire time. The Hive Dive is a great near miss. I went in this year for an ACE event, and I was able to ride it 8 times this year. I was able to marathon it 7 times at night in the span of an hour with a friend, thanks to ERT, and that was awesome. Of those 7 night rides, we ended up doing it once in the back row and 6 times in the front row. This ride really is a masterpiece. Number 3 is the Voyage at Holiday World. Since the last time I did this list, I got to go back to Holiday World during Hollywood Nights and experience this coaster at night trimless. This ride is infallible. The trimless night rides during Hollywood Nights are next level good. Undoubtedly the best night rides I've ever gotten on a coaster. This ride is so incredibly long, it feels like it's never going to end. What's miraculous is how it's able to keep its speed the entire time. I thought about putting Fury 325 over Voyage, but I couldn't do it. This ride just has it all. The airtime is incredible. It also has so many 90-degree bank turns that you just haul through. I don't know what Gravity Group and Holiday World were thinking when they designed and built this, because this ride feels like it shouldn't exist. I know a lot of coaster enthusiasts who have this as their favorite roller coaster, and it's completely understandable why. The Voyage is an absolute monster of a ride. We're now at the moment of truth. My top 2 roller coasters. These 2 are so incredibly close with each other. These are by far my 2 favorite roller coasters, and in my opinion, they set themselves apart from the rest. I go back and forth between these 2 all the time. Sometimes I think one of them is my favorite, and sometimes I think the other is my favorite. I thought long and hard about this, and I finally have the answer. Coming in at number 2 is Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point. This ride is about as perfect as a roller coaster can get. It has a 90-degree drop, it has ejector airtime and floater airtime, it has inversions, and it hauls the mail the whole time. This ride really gave Cedar Point that elite standout coaster. I remember when it first opened, it was the most hyped up roller coaster in years. The layout is masterful. RMC hit another level when they converted this coaster. They pulled out all the stops, and it is absolutely one of the world's best roller coasters. Now we're at my favorite roller coaster, and a lot of you know what it is. My number 1 roller coaster I've ever ridden is the one, the only, Lightning Rod at Dollywood. This ride is everything I love in a coaster and more. That uphill launch is incredible and pulls so many Gs. Airtime is my favorite thing on a roller coaster, and this ride has the best airtime I've ever experienced. The wave turn is humongous and gives sideways sustained airtime. The twist and shouts are so whippy, they just send you from one direction to the other. The quad down is undeniably my favorite element on any roller coaster, as well as my favorite airtime sequence on a coaster. It just got over half of its track converted this year from wood to steel, and that did not waver this ride's awesomeness at all. Every time I sit in that train and we dispatch, I get so hyped up. After we hit the brake run, I always have a massive smile on my face. No other coaster does that to me like Lightning Rod does. I've ridden this ride more times than any other roller coaster, and every single ride reminds me of why this is my favorite roller coaster. I love every second of this ride. From my very first ride to my most recent ride, I've never not loved Lightning Rod. It always blows me away every single time I ride it. That is why Lightning Rod is my #1 roller coaster I've ever ridden. So there you have it, my top 25 roller coasters that I have ridden as of 2021. What did you think of my list, and how many of these have you ridden? Also, let me know down below what your favorite roller coasters are. I'd love to hear what y'all have to say. There are still plenty of great roller coasters out there that I have yet to ride, and I just can't wait to ride them in the future and let you guys know what I think of them. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll have more videos coming soon. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and this is Coasters and Things signing out.